In this video, you're going to learn about some tried and tested market research techniques that I personally follow. So let's get into it. Now, before we look at what techniques there are, I think it's important to understand what is market research so that we can apply the techniques based on its definition. So by definition, market research is a research or activities or process that a product manager needs to follow to identify their target market, the users or the ideal customer profile, their pain points, and based on all of that, the possible solutions to address those. So these are all the things that come under market research. Now that we know what are the things that we need to get an answer on, let's see what are the techniques that we'll follow. Now for target market and users, we usually get a direction from the leadership or the executive team in your organization. So the reason that is because as a business, so the CEO has already identified like in what space do I want to operate in. Do I want to operate in B2B or B2C? Do I want to operate in B2B tech or is it something else? So the target market is something that usually is defined and something that we need to follow on to continue with our research. The same applies to users as well. So are the products in this organization geared towards sales people if it's a B2B space, or is it geared towards a marketing person? So at a higher level, the executive team or the leadership team has already defined what target market are they going after and who are the users that they are solving the problem for. Now there could be maybe two products that your company already has, but your job now is to either create a new product or for an existing product, look at what features do you want to implement. Now if you are at an entry level, so I would assume you fall in the latter category, wherein you are tasked with researching about what new features should we implement on a particular product. So that vision from the leadership team regarding the target market and users is going to be really helpful, and it's going to be a very good starting point for you, because as an organization, CEOs, they already know why have they created the company. Like at high level they already know. Now those details and in-depth research is something that product managers have to do. Now even though the leadership team has given the direction on what the target market is, it is always good to understand that better. Like the executives are not expecting an answer from you on that, but you as a product manager, you should know which space are you operating in. Like for example, the leadership team could say we are in a B2B tech space. So are you in a B2B tech space which is selling technology, or are you in a B2B tech space which is selling food items or homemade items, right? So there is a huge difference between both of those. Both of those are B2B companies. So you have to, sort of understand that first. And a lot of these clues you're going to get internally as well as externally. When I say internally, I mean you could research about the documentation that you already have in the organization. You have your leadership, you have your senior managers or product leads and whoever in your organization. You can, discuss with them and understand more on the target market and get clues from there. Based on that, you could also research online, just Google about how do B2B companies operate, how do tech companies in general operate. So doing that little bit of research at this stage is really going to help you as a product manager when you are contributing to the larger vision for this company. So the good thing here is that you're not ideally starting from scratch, right? Because there already are things which are defined here. So take advantage of that and do not completely rely on those 3-4 liners that you've been told. Do your due diligence and do that research a little bit and understand your space better. Now a similar thing applies to users as well. Same thing as whatever I just said for target market applies to users as well. So again, as I said, so leadership team, they have some idea of the users as well. Like are they looking at building the products for the sales people, or are they building the product for the engineers in the team, right? These are two different dimensions altogether. So that higher level information you can definitely get from the leadership team, but you should definitely play around with it. For example, if the leadership team has said like, you know, we want to build product for salespeople only because that aligns with our overall company's vision and mission. So now within salespeople, you have to do your due diligence again and understand, like sales is a very broad term, right? So there are multiple roles within sales organization. Each of those roles have different responsibilities. Like, are you building a product for a sales director, the one who's making decisions, the final decisions, or are you making a product for the business development representative, BDR, or are you making it for an account executive? So the solutions and the pain points of each of these are going to be really different because their responsibilities are altogether different. So I think it's really important for you to first of all understand and narrow down on your ideal customer profile, ICP. You need to know which salesperson are you trying to solve the problem for, what are their roles and responsibilities. Now, how are you going to do this user level research? Firstly, to start off with, you can go to the salespeople in your organization and ask them, like, you know, what is the current hierarchy that our own organization has? I think that's the beauty of B2B products, that, you know, your ideal customer would be within your organization only. So you can always take clues from them. So firstly, you can directly go and speak with anyone in the sales organization in your company and get that insight into what are the different roles within sales, what are the responsibilities, like understand that structure completely. You can obviously Google like what does an ideal sales team look like, what are the responsibilities of a salesperson. So that will give you quite good insight. The other type of people that you can talk in within your organization, not the sales people, but since there are similar products available, like as I mentioned in my earlier example, as a company, maybe you have built 2 products earlier and you are researching on the third one, or you are researching on the feature for the second one, whatever. In any case, since the product is already built, you can speak with the people who have worked on that product earlier and get insights into this particular thing on who are the different people within the sales organization. Now, hopefully after speaking with multiple people, Googling yourself, maybe use ChatGPT also to ask the AI tool, what does the sales organizations look like. So after all these things, hopefully you have documented what all roles exist within a sales organization, what is the responsibility of each of these roles, what does the hierarchy look like. So now you understand, all right, even though my company's vision and mission statement just says sales, I don't have to go behind the entire sales. I know exactly who within the sales organization do I need to go after. Now, for this, you have to go back to the leadership again. You have to say, all right, you know, you've done this leadership. When I say leadership, it does not necessarily mean like the CEO. You can go to the senior product person or head of product or whoever, like whoever is senior to you and has more information about it, or whoever has tasked you with this research. So you have to go and ask them, all right, there are these 6 people in the sales organization. Which one do I need to go after? Or is it like these 2 people? Or is it all of them? Basis that you're going to get an answer on who my ideal customer is. For those shortlisted 1 or 2 user personas, how many ever it is, it could be 5, I don't know, you have to see, but for each one of them you have to do a little deeper research, right? There are 4 things that you primarily have to look for that particular ideal user. So first is you have to know their demographic. Like, are you looking at the sales people or B2B company in general, US based, or is it UK based, or it doesn't matter. So you have to know like which area, what's the demographic wherein you want to build the product in. The reason this is important is because when you are building a product, you have to make a lot of decisions. Like for example, you have to abide by UK law, Europe laws, right? So that is something that you will have to consider if you are doing business in UK, as opposed to when you are doing business in US, you might have to take care of GDPR and stuff like that. So you have to understand that first. Otherwise, later on, when you build the product and you've not thought about all of these, that time you could get in serious troubles, because these demographic related information is important whenever you are building a product, right? So that's the one level of research that you need to do for your users. Second one, you should know the firmographic, the user as well. By firmographic, I mean, are you building the product for companies who are just early stage startups, or are you building the product for mid-sized SMBs, or are you building it for the enterprise level companies? So what does that firmographic look like? Because the product that you build whenever you are getting into the nitty-gritties of it, a lot of these factors will play in the product decisioning. So you need to know what is the firmographic data as well. Now again, for these 2 points, you might need a little bit of leadership assistance as well. Like, you have to do that research on your own first. All right, so in general, do we want to build the product for UAE as well, or do we just want to focus on this? Are we trying to sell this product to enterprise level companies? Because as an example, why that matters is, suppose you're building a product and you have to think about some integrations, and maybe the type of integrations that you do on your product, it will vary, because enterprise companies use different tools as opposed to the tools used by startup, because obviously they have more budget. So then based on that, you have to decide if you are doing business with a startup but you build an integration in your product for a tool that is used by enterprise and none of the startup uses, is there a point? No, right? So that is just one example. So that is why understanding the demographic and firmographic is really important, and your leadership team should be able to give you some guidance on that. Like, are they saying, go out and explore this product in UAE market? So they can say that, or they could not say it. So, but it's always good to bring up those points sooner rather than later. If you do not bring it, you might face situations when you are building the product and then you have to ask them again. So I think doing that research early on is always going to benefit. One last point in demographic and firmographic. So these are all business related questions. Like, where does the CEO wants to do business in? Do they want to do business in UAE as opposed to only focused on US market or Indian market or whatever the case is? So like, if it's like Swiggy is a product which is built in India, like, should they consider a similar product which is developed in US, because the user behavior of US people is different from Indian people? So you get the point. So we have to make sure that these basics are really clear when we are doing the market research, because it highly depends on your company and where does your executive team or CEO wants to do business in. What do they want to get into? Now, the last type of research, once you've selected those 1 or 2 user personas, is behavioral and the pain points. This is the fun part. So over here, leadership is not going to help you, unfortunately or fortunately. This is where you have to do the research yourself. So this is the main task that you are tasked with when someone says you please go do market research. So by behavioral, I mean for that particular user, like, what are their likes, what are their dislikes, how do they use the system, how frequently do they use their systems, what pain points are they facing, if this thing is not there, what's the impact? So these are all the questions that you've got to answer to understand the user better. Now there are 7 techniques that I personally follow, and which is what I'm going to share with you. But if you think there is any market research technique that I have missed and you use and it's really beneficial, do let me know via comments. Or if you think that this has been great and you did not try these out and this has given you like a different perspective and your mind is blown, do let me know via comments as well. So I would really appreciate that. And do not forget to hit like and subscribe, as you know why. Until then, see you all next week. Bye bye.